What's going on, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're talking about my audio bag, and we're gonna go over a lot of the things that's changed over the past 6 to 7 months. I will leave a table of contents in the description, so be sure to check that out. This video can get a little bit long, and I wanna take time to explain and go over all of the things that we use at each wedding. Let's go ahead and get straight into it. I originally was using the Nanook 935 hard shell case, and I switched to this one because one, I can pack a lot more in it, but then I can also transport this a little bit easier. When we're flying and things like that, this bag essentially becomes our personal item, and we can have our full-size carry-on with the cameras and the lenses in it. I really like this bag because of all the pockets and cubbies and compartments that this thing has. You can actually mount a tripod at the top. It has a tripod mount here. It's got pockets on both sides, a pocket in the back, big zipper pouch in the front, and then tons of space here in the inside. So looking at the inside, as you can see, again, I'm a big fan of being organized, especially when it comes to like audio gear and just things that are like small pieces, like small Legos. You really want to be organized and structured. This top pouch, this is kind of like my accessories drawer. This is the part where I don't really access that much, but I do keep things like my Sennheiser AVX mics. I have 2 of them left in the kit. I don't use them that much. We'll talk about what I'm using here in a second, but I just don't trust the wireless transmitting anymore. These things definitely outperform any of the 2.4 gigahertz things. Even running these at weddings, I've still noticed a lot of issues with dropouts, especially in situations where you can't afford to have any dropouts. Again, like I said, I have 2 of these bad boys, and then we keep the AVX handheld mic. And this is honestly the main reason why I keep this microphone. The AVX, you can actually pair it with a wireless receiver and transmitter like a lapel mic, or you can connect one of the receivers to the handheld mic. This is a game changer because there's been a handful of times where I've shown up and the DJ might not have had a wireless mic, or maybe where the speaker was, they had to be a little bit closer to it for the connection. And I'm able to now use this, plug into the DJ's equipment, and we have a wireless solution. And this thing sounds incredible.
When I tell you, I've never seen Aisha's face light up so much before in my 18 years of knowing her. I mean it wholeheartedly.
Hi, Kuya Danby. We need to go back to Cebu, another backpacking trip soon. Aisha is welcome.
You still hear background noise, but the audio and the clarity in the voice of the person speaking sounds incredible. And so the only other thing that I have in this case is extra batteries for the AVX, and then I have another AVX set. I'm gonna try to explain a little bit of why I chose this equipment over other equipment. First and foremost, the cables. I get this question all the time about what cables you should take. This case, it's an old Deity D3 Pro case, and I kind of ripped the guts out and put all my cables in here. I would highly recommend you buying something that can store all your cases. When I show up to the wedding and it's time to mic up or it's time to hook up a recorder to the DJ's equipment, I carry the whole case because I have no idea what cables I might need. I have no idea where their setup is gonna be, so I just take the whole case and I know all the essentials are in it. So we look inside this. Like I said, it's a mess, but the most important cables are always on top. So we have my Condor Blue Mini XLR cable. This is for the pocket, and I mainly only use this when I connect the AVX. I'll run the mic directly into the camera, and we use this cable. If I could buy Condor Blue cables for all of my devices, I would. These cables hold up, they're braided, and then I love that they're blue. They just stand out. Like, you know from looking at your camera, if I got a power cable, okay, cool, the cable's on, we're good. The only problem is that they're always out of stock. So if you can get them and get like 2 or 3 of them, because 9 times out of 10, they're gonna be out of stock the next day. The other things that I keep in here is like my Timecode cables. These are Alvin's cables. This is the BNC to 3.5 millimeter, and this is to be used for like the pockets and the theater recorders and anything that accepts being jammed through the 3.5. I have a bunch of these. I can't stress this enough, but when it comes to cables, you need redundancy. Even though I have one of these, I've got like 5 or 6 more that are in this bag or in my accessories bag. You don't want to be in a situation where you try to jam sync a device and your cable is broken. You need to have multiple options in case something like that does happen. One of my most used cables is the XLR to 1/4 inch cable. I don't like converting with like the little sockets. The reason is because you get a lot of grounding noise, and this is something that you usually don't hear until you start editing the mix, and you hear this really subtle low end that you can't get rid of. You really want to make sure you spend quality money and good money on good cables. Most of the time, if you get stuck with a situation where you got to plug directly into a board, a lot of the time it's going to be like a phones out or a line out, and you can plug in directly with this. Now, if you have been following me for a while, you'll know that I personally don't like to do that. I like to split the audio source. And to do that, you need one of these guys. This is a XLR splitter cable. It's the best way to get sound at a wedding. What you would end up doing is instead of plugging directly into the DJ speaker or plugging into their mixer, you're gonna bypass all of that and you're gonna split the sound signal from the source. So in this case, it's gonna be the back of the receiver from where the audio is coming from. So if they're using a Sennheiser G4 or a Shure system, you would plug this into the back, and then you would give the DJ a line out, and then you would take a line out that's going directly into your recorder. A lot of questions that I would get is like, oh, I'm using 32-bit float, that doesn't matter. But this recorder can only record the signal that's coming into it. So if you're recording a distorted signal, that signal's not coming directly from the source, you can't fix it with a 32-bit float recording. You wanna have, again, backups on backups, especially when it comes to cables. Cables will go bad. Don't trust one cable. Don't even trust two cables. If you can, get like 3, 4, 5 of them and have a few that are always on standby. When one breaks, you grab a new one and then you order a new one to replace it. So you always have enough backups in the event that something crazy happens. Other cables that are handy at weddings is just like your standard 3.5mm adapter. I don't use this a lot, but every now and then, you know, you might run into a situation where you need one. And then we have the Deity cable for the mics. Another thing that I like is this guy. So this is just an XLR to 3.5mm adapter. This is another thing you really want to spend some good money on. Some of them you can get for like 10 bucks. Other ones you can get for like 50 bucks, like the Rode VXLR. Those are gonna outperform any of the other ones because they're just better. Like that just is what it is. The benefit of having something like this is if you had to plug into a 1/4 inch or 1/8 inch adapter, you can actually convert that to XLR and plug into your recorder. So having 1 or 2 of these in your kit is definitely nice. Spend your money, buy it once. That's all I'm gonna say. That's basically all I have for the cables. Most of this stuff that's still in here is just extras and repeats, backups. The key takeaway though is grab yourself 2 or 3 of these XLR splitters. And this is the best way to get sound from the wedding. I would rather take 2 signals of the same recording than be limited to just one and that one signal fails. You have no idea what the DJ's equipment is like. You don't know if their 1/4 inch jack is working properly. You have no idea, and you can't risk not having a quality backup in the event should one of your mics actually fail. That's it for the cables. Again, find yourself a nice pouch that can house all this stuff like this one. Most of the time, if you buy Deity products or if you buy, you know, Aperture products or anything that comes with a case like this, grab those cases back out and convert it and start using it. They also sell things like this. I'll leave some links in the description of some good alternatives that you could buy from like Amazon. Deity dropped the Deity TC1, and I feel like this is turning into like a Deity sponsored video, and it's not. I promise you, Deity is not sponsoring this video. I bought all of these products with my own money. The Deity TC1s is just a timecode generator. You can pair multiple timecode boxes together and they all kind of operate in like a master and slave mode, so that when you have like 2 or 3 of these connected, they're all synced. And so there's no worry about drift between one timecode box to another. Another thing with this is that you can use it on virtually any type of camera. It comes with the cables necessary. So you have this cable, then you also have the other adapter that converts it to XLR or BNC or SDI, which is what like my cinema camera uses. When it comes to timecode, syncing audio and syncing multiple cameras is painless. Like you literally click a button and you're done. The benefit of having the Deities or any timecode generator is just to speed up your post-production time. I personally mic 15 people at weddings. If I had 15 mics with like Tascam DR10Ls and I had to go and match individual sound signals, I would have stopped doing this months ago. Timecode allows you to just sync everything at the click of a button. No matter how many signals you got, no matter how many audio sources or camera feeds, as long as they're all jammed with the same timecode, then you're good to go. The TC1s are very affordable. They're only about $169. Don't quote me on that. I'll leave a link in the description. But they're very affordable, and they also sell a 3-pack kit for $549. So you can get 3 of these for $549. This is the best way to just jam sync your devices. So I talk about my recorders often. I use the Zoom F6. I actually have 2 of them. The other one's sitting right over here. These things are amazing. They're 32-bit float. The build quality, these things are built like a tank. You get 6 inputs for the cost of what this is. And most units that give you 6 inputs are well above this price. You get things like 32-bit float, independent knobs to adjust the gain. I like being able to just turn a knob, get it to the levels that I want. Hearing that click, I know it's on. So it's the best thing to me. Another thing I want to point out is this bad boy here. So here's another one. If you watch my gimbal video, I'll link that up here. In the gimbal video, I talked about using the Zhiyun trans mount. I really find these things so valuable. So what I like to do, because again, everything on a wedding day is so fast, you've got to find ways to be more efficient. So when I have to mount this on a DJ stand, I actually have an adapter already pre-rigged for it. And I can literally just clamp this on, and then all I have to do is pop this in instead of threading it every single time. If I needed to move this from maybe the DJ's area to somewhere outside for cocktail hour, pop this off, boom, go replace it on another one, we're good to go. So this just speeds it up. I can't talk enough about these Zhiyun trans mount devices. One other thing before we dive back into the audio bag is I want to talk about ways to actually mount your devices. So in my bag, I actually have things separated based on how frequent I'm using them. On this side, I actually have all of our leg straps. And so the straps that we use are the Ursa thigh straps. And we also use Ursa calf straps, which I'll show you in a second. The thigh straps are, to me, they're the best ones that you can get. There's a few different brands that make them, like Viviana, but the ones that we have, and again, redundancy is key, so I have 2 brand new ones just in case we need extras or one of these just looks too bad. When they start getting too bad, I order more and I just keep swapping them out. They're very affordable, but these things are extremely comfortable. They're long, so they have pockets that are perfect for different size transmitters. So they actually sell these with different size pockets. This one here is the large pocket, so I can actually slide one of my mic packs right here, which is the Deity. It slides directly into this, and then I'm able to mount this on the thigh of the talent, and they can wear this basically all day without it actually feeling uncomfortable. It's a very soft material, and the inside has this rubber grip, so when it's on their thigh, it actually sticks to their leg and prevents it from sliding down further. It's also very stretchy, so you can get a lot of play with this and still mount this on their leg, wrap it nice and tight, pull it tight, and it's still comfortable because it's breathable, it's lightweight, and they can wear this basically all day. So the Ursa calf strap, that's these guys here. They're basically the exact same thing, except they're shorter. So this is designed to go right on the calf. You can use this if their legs are a little bit too big and you can't put the thigh strap. You can put this on the calf and it's perfect. It does the exact same thing. It's nice and stretchy. You slide your transmitter right here into the pocket and then wrap it around and you're good to go. This Velcro, by the way, is extremely durable. Like, you can't pull that Velcro off. It's a really solid grip. Often, sometimes I feel like I'm ripping through to take it off. These things are amazing. I can't speak highly enough of them. They're by Ursa Straps. And this is, again, the calf strap, and then we have the thigh straps. So to mic the guys, this has always been something that's pretty tricky, and I hear this a lot as well. I get questions on this. How am I able to clamp the receivers like this onto a guy, especially in the situation if they're not wearing a belt? And that's where the Ursa belt pouches come in. As you can see, I start to trust a brand when I find that one thing works. I really start to believe in that brand. The way these work is you have a little pocket on the backside here, and you can actually thread the belt directly through here, and the transmitter goes on the inside right here. So I'll put one in just to show you, give you an example. But essentially, if you had someone who's, say they're wearing a belt and you knew that they're gonna wear this all day, you can actually feed the belt directly through here, and this stays on their back. And so when they stand up, sit down, nothing's gonna happen to the transmitter. You can also mount it vertically, because on the other side, it has a vertical mount. So the belt can go in and then your cable points straight up, which that to me is the best way to mount it. It protects your cable. When it's sideways, I feel like it gets bent, ripped out of the socket a little bit. So I always mount mine this direction, and then the cable's pointing up, which is essentially where the mic's gonna be. It's gonna wrap around and be taped to the inside. Say for example, if they don't wear like a belt, then it also comes with this, I guess, a belt clamp. And essentially the way this is just like a little grip. But when it bites down, it's done like that. It's on, it's not coming off. If this was the belt or the side of their pants, I would actually push this into the inside of the pants, and then I would use this to clamp to the edge, and it just bites on like that. And like I said, once it's on, I don't want to rip it and break it, but once it's on, it's on. Without something like this, You'll always notice the guy's fidgeting with this. It'll keep popping off. One time you'll see them just slide it in their pocket, so then you see the cable showing. And so to be able to mic people all day, you really want it to stay concealed. You want it to be comfortable. You don't want them to have to constantly keep adjusting and moving it. And using things like the Ursa belt pouches, the thigh straps and the calf straps will allow you to do that. They sell the belt pouches in a variety of sizes. If you're using something similar to like a G4, the Sennheiser, or like a Deity BP-TRX, then you'll go for the large, but they sell these in like a small, medium, large, and extra large pouch, depending on what type of transmitter you're using. Now to talk about the mics that we're using. I use Deity BP-TRX, and the reason I use these things, let me just pull some of them out so that y'all understand why, all right? And I got a lot, and it's for good reason. The build quality, the cost, what they're capable of. We're not gonna pull all of them out, but just know that I have 13 of them. So I realized that some of the best organic conversations that happen at a wedding is the story, and we always miss it. These mics allow you to now record and mic as many people as you need to, granted that you have enough mics, and be able to add whatever value and create a story for your couples. My goal is to be able to mic the entire bridal party. It's always gonna come down to how you're using it, what you're using it for, and if it works for your workflow. You can use these as a recorder transmitter, so you can connect two together, wirelessly send that signal to your camera like you would a traditional system like my AVX. You could transmit and record at the same time. So unlike the AVX, I could send this signal to my camera and simultaneously record at the transmitter side, just in case of a dropout or something like that crazy happens. My favorite way is as a time code recorder, and that by itself is a game changer. $250, you get a time code recorder. I did a whole video kind of going over time code where I actually talked a lot about it. I'll leave a link to that up here so you see like a card pop up. I jam sync time code from my Timecode device into this, and then this runs time code the entire day. After 24 hours, you experience drift of less than 1 frame, which to me is basically perfect. And you're not gonna be recording dialogue for 24 hours anyway, so it doesn't become an issue in the end. Another benefit of the BP-TRX is that it has an analog limiter, which is huge because if they get loud suddenly after setting your levels, it will auto suppress it to try to reduce the risk of you actually having a distorted signal. Now, it's not 32-bit float, and I know there's a lot of things with, I'd rather buy Tentacle because 32-bit float, and that is a great thing. The Tentacles support 32-bit float. Here's why I didn't opt for 32-bit float. When you understand your signal to noise ratio and you set your signal correct using proper mics that you're using, all mics are not the same, so you have to adjust it based on the mic that you're using. Once you set that, you get sound that is just crazy good, like almost too good to be true.
I've always joked with Mitch, like, oh, I better have a carrot for every year I've been waiting, and damn if he did it too.
So what I like to do is, with the antennas that come with it, to turn it into like a traditional recorder, is say I mount mic 12, which is this one here. Say I mount this on the groom, and I want to be able to adjust his settings on the fly. Well, I would pair mic 12 with mic 13 or whatever other mic I have, it doesn't matter. I would pair these two together, and then the receiver becomes a master controller for the transmitter. So in other words, if I notice that I look at the levels or I'm listening in and I'm like, oh, wow, that's peaking, that's getting loud, I can go in on the receiver, adjust the gain, and it sends that signal to the transmitter. Now I'm able to monitor on the fly without having to go up to the groom, undo his mic, pull it out, check the levels, have him say ABCs, adjust it again, and then hope that that sounds better. If you decide you want to buy multiple one of these, like multiple units, whether it's the Deity, whether it's the Tentacle Syncs or whatever, I would get into the number game. This is probably the best way to know who's who when it comes back down to like syncing everything in post, transferring the footage and everything like that to your computer. So all of my mics I have numbered on both the front, the back, and then the top. The top is key because if I forgot, say I put this mic on Jeff, and I forgot what number he had, I can tell him like, hey, can you look at your mic? What number's at the top? He lifts his shirt. Oh, I got 11. Cool. Then on my phone, in my notes, I have like a whole little document now that says mic 1, mic 2, mic 3, and then I put the name of the person next to it. So mic 11, I would put Jeff dash best man. And then when I go to edit and I transfer all the footage back from the SD card to the computer, I would rename that folder Jeff best man, and I would drop this audio in there. So then it becomes super simple. Syncing in post, even easier because it's all running time code. So again, you just click a button and you're done. So talk about the mics that I'm using. Now this is where the real heart of these Deities shine. Me personally, if I was to give you an honest opinion, is I think the Deity microphones are not that great. They're decent if you just needed something to get started, but I don't recommend them at all. So the mics that I'm using is the Sennheiser MKE, the Sanken COS 11D, and then the Rode Link mics. The Rode mics are my backup mics. If one of these break, if something happens on the fly and I just need to grab an extra mic, again, you gotta have redundancy. So because these things are expensive, I only have, I think 10 total. So we have 5 Sennheiser MKE mics. These mics, to me, sound the best on women. They sound great on whoever you put them on, but I think the sound clarity, when I tested my Sanken mic and my Sennheiser mic on various different voices, I think the Sennheiser just sounds so much more full for a woman's voice. I really love the sound for that. That's why I have 5 of these. The Sanken mics sound the best on men. It almost sounds like shotgun type of audio. I really love these mics. They're both robust. They're both durable. I do like the cables of the Sennheisers a little bit more. It's a lot thicker. It has like a nice, almost like a self-detangler. Like you really don't knot these cables up at all. Whereas like with the Sankens, the cable's a lot more flimsy and it's easier to knot up. But again, both of these mics are pro level mics. The Sanken mic is industry standard. You see these mics a lot in reality shows, documentaries. The sound quality just speaks for itself, that's why. I think a close second being the Sennheiser MKE2s. They're robust, they're durable, and they have a very tiny footprint. Here's the Sennheiser versus the Sanken. Now I want to talk about another question that I get often, and that's how I'm able to get such clear sound when the mic's placed like under the shirt or under the dress on the bride or something like that. So there's a couple of ways that you could do it. The most common is using like Ryco under Stickies or over Stickies or gaff tape. I think those methods are the worst. The reason is because they carry a large footprint. What I've learned and noticed is that the smaller the footprint you can have underneath the shirt, the better it is at removing that background noise, that rustle, that clothing noise, because it's so small that the shirt typically doesn't bother it. When you've got like gaff tape here, or you've got like a big contraption that you're trying to stick under the shirt, the under Stickies and things like that, that have the furry, wind coating, that's just giving your shirt more opportunity to touch, and any subtle noise from that shirt rubbing near that mic capsule is gonna get picked up by the mic. What I like to use for my mics are again, we're gonna go back to the Ursa brand. They're called Ursa Mini Mounts. So what this does is it essentially, I'm now able to pop the mic, the Sennheiser MKE, directly into this, and then you pull it down into the housing. And now I get a hard shell cover that, again, if the shirt hits this, it's a hard shell, so it does help reduce a lot of that noise. And the only possible way for sound to actually get picked up is if it rubs the top of the connector. And that's gonna be where the actual mic capsule sits. Another thing is that it recesses the cable, so you can actually mount this directly under the dress. It carries an extremely tiny footprint. So when this is mounted on, it's so small that the shirt will kind of wrap around it and almost never hit the actual mic itself. And the same thing with the dress. You put this right below like the cup of the dress, and you tape it using the Ursa Super Stickies, and you're good to go.
I've been friends with her for 7 years, so I've seen her in different relationships, and he's different, but in a good way.
These are made by a company called Bumblebee Industries. This one's designed for the COS 11D. The cool thing about this is that it is a larger footprint, but again, the mic's bigger anyway, but it has a rubber exterior, very similar to the Ursa Mini Mount. And then it has this little notch. This little notch will kind of help push the shirt away from the mic. It actually does a phenomenal job. When using this in a larger mic, like the Sanken mic, I'll even plug this same connector. I'll slide the Rode mic into this. It actually helps reduce that noise, that background noise a lot. Another cool thing with these is that they come with a few different ways to mount them. So it comes with these little vampire clips. And these are pretty cool because it makes it easier to mount this on the fly on someone. You can stab directly through the shirt and it just puts like two super tiny, almost like a pin needle, and it clips right to the inside. And that's for very fast, like you don't have time to actually mount it and stick it and go through the hassles of doing that. That's kind of your fast approach. The other connectors that I use for the Sanken, depending on who I'm miking, if you're miking women, these are great. But the issue with the Bubble Bees is that a good enough pull, the mic will just slide right out of the bottom. So I typically only like to put these on like women because they're usually not the ones to be doing backflips during the wedding day. And I say that just very vaguely, but most of the time guys are gonna be a lot more rough on your mics. And so what I do with these is these little devices are made by Viviana. They almost look identical to the MKE Ursa Mini mount, but the benefit of these, now Ursa does make them for Sanken, but the same thing happens, it just slides out the bottom. With the Viviana connector, it actually slides in from the top, and then there's like a hard stop at the bottom, so the mic cannot pass through. So you can stick this on the shirt, and if they're tugging on the cable, at least you know the mic won't fall out. The Stickies that I'm using are probably the best that there is. I trust these things better than anything, and I tell women all the time that they're better than boob tape. They really are. These are the Ursa Sticky Circles. These aren't even the strongest. They make an Ursa Super Sticky, which is even stronger than this. I had those, but I realized I never needed them. They're just like too strong. These things are incredible. You put this on, and you always want to try your best to stick to the clothing. Don't touch the sticky so the oils from your fingers don't kind of mess that stickiness up. Once this is stuck on the shirt, it's there all day. I mount this on the guys. Occasionally I'll pass through and I'll flip just to make sure it's still there. I'll give it a little wiggle. Does it need a new sticky? And it's always held up. Women, depending on how it's mounted, sometimes it just gets pulled off because of the mic itself being on their thigh. They might accidentally, pull it or something like that. And so you might have to go back and forth a few times throughout the day. But for the most part, once it's stuck properly on the dress, you don't have to go back and adjust it. It's always like, these things are rock solid. So if you're gonna conceal mics, you buy Ursa Sticky Circles. They're kind of pricey. You get 90, I think, for 20 bucks, 25 bucks. I actually like to keep a set of stickies in each mic pouch so that, if I had this and I was carrying it throughout the day and realized I needed a sticky, I can easily do that. So to actually carry all my mics around, I actually use these. This is just an electronics holder that I got off Amazon. I think it was like 12 or 13 bucks. I coil each cable just like that, and then I slide it into the pouch. And I love doing it this way because now I have each pouch dedicated to a specific mic. So it just makes it easier to know and keep up with your gear while also being able to make sure that you get everything back and you can store it safely, because again, this is where the money is. This is the magic right here. You need your mics to perform, and so you don't want things to kind of go haywire or broken or damaged. The cool thing with the Sankens and the Sennheiser is that they can be re-terminated. So in the event, as you can see here, I just like to add a little reinforcements. Because these go on my guys, I typically wrap some electrical tape, and you see like how it doesn't really have a lot of bend at that point here. This just adds an extra level of tension and resistance in case it gets pulled or bent. We actually don't have to worry about it breaking inside the terminal. And that's that. And again, these all slide in here into the pouch. We zip these up, and then I'm able to keep all three of these inside the ProMaster production bag. I also think it's kind of funny that I just bought a ProMaster. I'll be making a video on that soon. We just bought a production van. That's pretty exciting. All those slide in there. All the Deity mics slide back in here at the top. And that's the kit. This is the audio setup. I know it's a ton of stuff that we talked about. The audio gear that you buy right now will outlast any camera that you have. I bought my Rode NTG3 when I had an old Nikon camera, and that is still the mic that I'm using today at the weddings for sound bites. So keep that in mind when investing, and I hope this video brought you some sort of value. If you have any questions, as always, leave them in the comments below. And until the next video, y'all keep creating, and I'll see you in the next one.
Tell me that I'm all you want. Got it back for me 100 July summer. Miss me like no other. Touch and it turns to gold.